All right, Shalom Israel. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wachaha, Kwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And this is going to be another video, another update on basically the gutter rats in the land of Israel getting their ass whooped by Iran after all the shit they was talking. So without further ado, I'm gonna play this ass whooping that these gutter rats are receiving in Tel Aviv. Okay, and guess what? You're gonna hear more news about these small hats getting their ass whooped, because you see, back in history's time past, right, the Lord would always use a particular nation to come up against the nation of Israel, and the true Israelites, which are the Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, in order to subdue us. All right, but then in the latter end, the Lord would always raise up another nation to come and take down the same nation that took us down, you know, which ultimately would lead to our liberation, you know, or in some cases, you know, the Lord will raise up a judge amongst our nation, like in the book of Judges. You know, the Lord would raise up a judge to deliver the nation of Israel out of the hands of their enemies, so you can better understand. You know, but you see, when you go to the book of Daniel, right, the 7th chapter, okay, ultimately it's going into the captivities that we have underwent before in the past because of our transgressions and the breaking of the first covenant. You see, the first beast, which was a lion, right, that stood up, you know, upon his feet, and it had two wings, right? That lion represented the Neo-Babylonian Empire, or the Assyrian Babylonian Empire, okay, in which the Lord used them to basically take us down and to put us in the captivity, which is where you get, you know, which is why, you know, in the book of Daniel, you know, you read about Nebuchadnezzar. In the book of Daniel, the 11th chapter, you know, you read about Nebuchadnezzar. You hear about Belshazzar, or if I'm saying that correctly, you know, I can't remember his name. You know, I believe there was another one too. Nebuchadnezzar, if I'm saying that correctly, you know. But then the Lord raised up the Persians and the Medes to basically come up against the Neo-Babylonians, and ultimately they got taken down, and basically their kingdom got taken over by the Persians and the Medes. Okay. And that's where you get the Medo-Persian Empire from, which is where you get the bear from. Okay, and you know, in which the bear had 3 ribs in his mouth, in which the 3 ribs represented Lydia, Egypt, and Babylon. You know, and I believe Lydia is where is how Xerxes became rich. You know, ultimately, you know, his his ancestors basically attacked Lydia and basically plundered Lydia of his riches, and that's how Xerxes, became rich like the way he did when he came on the scene. You see, but after them comes what? The Greeks, which is the leopard and the four heads, which the leopard represented Alexander, which Alexander represented the beginning of Esau's rulership. The leopard represented the beginning of Esau's rulership. And that would be Alexander. Alexander represented the beginning of the Edomites rising up into power, and in which Alexander, the Greek, had 4 generals. Okay, Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Seleucid. And then, of course, when you go into the third beast, the leopard, you got the Assyrian wars, and you also got the wars between the Greeks and the East Indians, the Persians. Okay. And I forgot what the name of that war was, but I did do my research on it. There's a name for it. The war that happened between the Greeks and the East Indians. Okay. And a matter of fact, let me just let's do some quick research real quick. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's go to Google and let's type in. Okay, what was the name? Oh my God, come on, you know better, stupid phone. You're supposed to autocorrect that, remember? What was the name of the war between the Greeks and Persians? Okay, the Greco-Persian Wars. That's what it was called. The Wada Yahawashai. Okay, it was known as the Greco-Persian Wars. Okay, and basically, during the third beast, which is Alexander, and of course Alexander died, and but even after Alexander's death, well, I wouldn't say after Alexander's death, but I would say, during the Greeks, right? There was a war that lasted 40 years between the Greeks, which were Edomites. The Edomites, even though the original Greeks were a Japhetic people, but the Edomites conquered the Japhetic people, and basically the Edomites started calling themselves Greeks. Okay, but showing you there's nothing new under the sun, because the Edomites today are calling themselves God's chosen people, and they are not. They are Edomites. But okay, then basically the Greeks, the Edomites, who were calling themselves Greeks, when they went to war against the East Indians, it was a war that lasted 40 years. It could have been longer, actually, according to my research. There was a lot that happened in the time span of the third beast, which is the leopard. Okay, but I just had to fact check that. The Wada Yahawashai. And then, after that, you got the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire. And during the Western Roman Empire times, the Lord had raised up Jake to basically, get up into the higher seats of the Western Roman Empire. And ultimately, the Edomite rule of the Roman Empire started to phase out, and Israelite rule, the true Israelites, which are the Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, at that time it was the Southern Kingdom, over there in the land of Israel. Well, that was being held captive under the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire, right? So Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom, you had Israelites who was basically taking over, and that's how the Western Roman Empire became the Eastern Roman Empire. All right, and so I mean, the point that I'm trying to make is that whenever the Lord would raise up a nation to take us down from our high position, right? The Lord in return would then raise up another nation to take down the enemies that took us down, and in the process, He would deliver us. Okay. So here it is in this generation, right? The Lord used the Edomites to take us down from our rulership during the Dark Ages, emancipating into the Renaissance period, right? But what is the Lord doing now? He's raising up the East Indians, the Iranians, to take down the Edomites. Okay?
You still here?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on the bus. You see? And not only that, but the Lord is also using Esau's own people to take him down, because the Lord's also going to raise up the Russians to take down these small hats in the land of Israel. But this is the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 49. Okay, it says, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? You see? So as we see, the Lord is bringing fire on the earth, and He's using the Iranians to do it. With that, I'm going to say Shalom is on to the next one.